welcome to another great episode of Choices. It's a safe space for us as men to discuss a number of issues affecting our community. And today we have another interesting topic to be covered. So be blessed and enjoy. Over to you, Dr. Hudson.
We really want to look at what is taking place in our society. I think our program over the past couple of weeks is for us to be prepared. Are you prepared? That's the question that is being asked. And, this preparation involves a number of things. All of us, at some point in time, we have to meet with our God. Meeting with our God is a sacred event. And so we have that event that is coming. And so how we live, how we operate, how we treat with people, those things are integral to what will be the response when you meet with God. The whole thing is about purity of heart and the mind. And even as we look at what is happening in our society, we want to make sure that persons are prepared. They are prepared in the sense that they will demonstrate what God expects of them, the issue of love. You see, Mark 12:31 speaks about love. We need to treat others the way we would like to be treated. Matthew 7:12. We need to be kind and compassionate. Sometimes you get the impression that that kindness is a scarce commodity. Everybody's now brutal and performing brutal acts that might even affect children. And those are things we cannot condone. Respect and honor for others. Romans 12:10. And to serve one another also, Galatians 5:13. And we need to show hospitality. Hebrews 13 and 2. And so it is very important that as we live this life, that as men, even as we seek to engage in family formation and so on, that we treat children, we treat wives in the manner that God expects. Our hands gotta be pure. Think what the psalmist was saying. The psalmist was saying the whole thing has to do with integrity. And so what is integrity? It's the Latin word integer, which comes from the Latin word integer, which means wholeness of heart. So when God created us, he created us as whole people, body, soul, and spirit. And so all of those things got to be pulling together so that we could be a complete human being. So we can't focus or concentrate on one area at the expense of others. Gentlemen.
Well, this is quite an intro. And what I'm thinking is, as we reflect on recent happenings, we are trying to figure out what is happening to some of our men folk. We are trying to understand why some of our men folk are behaving the way they're behaving. We've just had a plethora of scriptural references dealing with our own spiritual responsibility. How do we react? How do we respond to the abuse of an 18-month-old, 2-year-old, allegedly by someone in his family circle? How do we speak to them? Bearing in mind Lemuel's mother cautioning him that he had a duty to speak for the voiceless. Here we are in the 21st century. If this is the only case, I don't think we would bother with it. But apparently, behavior like this is becoming increasingly pervasive right across our country. Can we speak to our brothers, irrespective of their ethnicity, religion, political affiliation? Could we speak to men about this behavior that will cause a grown man to beat and to brutalize a child? And the information, that's not our purpose. This case is well known to be citing and rehashing, but we asking, let us speak to men wherever they are. Some of them who look at us are drinking beers right now, looking at us, sitting among with each other, socializing, wondering what they can be talking about today. Let's speak to those men. Let's speak to the men who sit in swivel chairs, make decisions every day, but are guilty of this kind of behavior. Let's speak to all the males, whoever they might be. Gentlemen.
Thanks to that, Bishop. This situation that was publicized, recently, and as you indicated, there's so much more that it's not in the public domain. We would hear a neighbor, we would hear a friend at work, they would speak about some family member or their neighbor experiencing or seeing, abuse, and they're looking or seeking redress. How can we help these families? This is one of the program's choices where we seek to help from a biblical standpoint. But today, I would just like to speak as a man. Dr. Hudson asked the question, are we prepared? Are the men being prepared to father? Dr. Lee said something once that resonated with me. There's a difference between a male and a man, and we need to teach males how to be men. And I love that, Dr. Lee. We need to teach males how to be men because every male doesn't understand how to be a man. And this is what we're discussing here this morning, this afternoon, wherever it is in your time zone. How to be a man. There's something else called parenting, where you don't care, you neglect the child, you neglect the children. There's an indifference, as we say, whatsoever come may do. Are you a cold father? We're focusing on parents, but we're talking to the males today. Responsible men. We're looking for that. We are encouraging you to be that. You don't know how to be responsible. There was no one there to teach you. There was no one there to guide you. All the advice you receive is about hitting out and being macho and mean. And no, that is not the only thing. There are other ways. There are other things. A lot of things, me as a raising with a single parent, my mom, I learned a lot of things from church and from listening and looking at good examples, not only bad examples. I've seen bad examples, but listening and looking and being intentional and wanting to learn and wanting to do better. It has to come from your heart. You have to desire to want to do better and stop being a cold parent. Be there. Bishop referenced about men hanging out and drinking. Okay, fine. But you need to take some time as well, 1 hour, 2 hours. Take that child with their bicycle downstairs to ride. Take that child to the park to just do some running and play some hide and seek. Play a card game with him or her. Play a game of guessing. Teach them how all the countries in the world by asking them to tell you all the countries that begin with S or with A, or just spend some quality time with them. That's what I'm saying. You can learn. These are simple things we can do to develop a relationship, and then we build from there. We take it from there. 2 Timothy says, people in the last days, they will not be loving, they'll be unloving. They will only love themselves. We do not have to go down that road. We can do better. Listen to us. This is the program called Choices. Make a choice today to be a better man, to be a man that understands his purpose, his position in life, and what he has to do to raise his family, to protect his family, not vilify and victimize. Be that man today. Make that choice.
You know, Kurt, I want to jump back in here quickly. You know, we raised the issue about if this thing is pervasive. And I mean, from a sociological perspective, you go around as a senior person in the education field. We have seen lots of parents and persons, you know, beating children and so on, and that kind of thing cannot be condoned, because there's a difference between discipline and torture. We are not called to torture people. There's a difference between discipline. People say, I was disciplining this boy. No, there's a difference between discipline and torture.
Excellent.
We can't burn children. We can't lash them to the point where their mouths are bursted, blood running. We beat them in their hands and they're bleeding and so on. That is totally unacceptable. And as men, I just want to quickly read what the Apostle Paul says. Oh, we are called as men to love. To love. Sometimes the situation might be dismal, but that does not negate the fact that we're still called to love, especially if you're the head of a family. And Paul said in Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 13, 4 and 8, we're familiar with it. He said, love is patient. Rearing children is patient. I could tell you, sometimes if you don't have God in you and you don't understand who you are, you could go overboard. Love is patient. It is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. You know, you beat somebody to the point where they're you know, in the family where they're wounded and they can't even move. That's dishonor to the highest level. It is not self-seeking. It does not easily angered. You know, you could become very angry, but if love is the predominant factor that you're working on, you will not be easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. You know, so people say that waiting till you do a whole set of things and pile up all the slicks on you and so on. Love doesn't function like that. You keep a record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects. You hear that? Love protects. It always trusts. It always hopes, and it always perseveres. So as men, we are called to lead our families. We have to take these things into consideration. It is not easy, but it is possible.
I think
I can
also,
see-
Dr. Hudson, you just said, you know, we are called to lead our families. And I believe to the man in that swivel chair or to the man in the street, to all of us, what is critical, one of the critical ingredients in the mix is the whole notion of self-discipline. We need to come to that place where we discipline ourselves, we seek to find a place to resolve or ways to resolve our own issues. Parenting, as we are dealing with this issue, this is a God-given responsibility. And we need to understand that these children are God's heritage. We are stewards. So we have to discipline ourselves to come to that place where we ought to learn how to raise our children. Parenting is a lifelong skill that we need to develop. And we need to every single day find a way to rear, to care, to love, to develop rather than to abuse and to torture. So as parents, this is a clarion call for all of us. You know, coming out of my recent research, there is an admittance by young parents that, you know, they are now faced with this responsibility of parenting. And, you know, they don't know what to do. You know, they're faced with this major responsibilities of parenting, but they have resolved, and that is what we want to encourage men, especially. Resolve to learn, resolve to find a way If you need help, ask for help. And sometimes as men, we lock up things in ourselves. We don't talk to each other. We need to find a space where we can, somebody to trust, somebody that you can go to and find a way to get help, because our children are depending upon us, and God has given us that responsibility, and let us take it very, very
You
seriously.
hit it on the head there, Dr. Benjamin. You know, this is serious because, you know, as you spoke, you know,
Yes.
I'm trying to put my own self in the shoes of an abused man. You know, hurting people only hurt people. You know, and that is just the way it is. Sometimes that man might have been, that is how he was perhaps treated, and he's just looking for an opportunity to lash out. And perhaps even subconsciously it's in the system, perhaps not intentionally, you know, it could be both. Who knows? But once again, you know, that safe space, we have to encourage men as well, because these issues are real, you know. So it's not that we're condemning anybody, but of course we got to draw the line at some point, you know. And so we're saying we have to encourage each other. We gotta speak. We have to find some space so that we could deal with the psychological issues. We deal with the hard trauma that men face. Sometimes we skirt over these things, and you know, and men, we ourselves might want to believe that we're macho, we ain't gotta talk, but this is the effect when things build up and there's no way of dealing with these issues. So this thing is serious, and we have to continue to point men in the direction of where you can be healed, because that's the only way we'll be able to move forward.
This whole question of what are we saying to men? Dr. Hudson said the word twice, love. You are watching us. I'm going to ask him, he defined what he meant by love, what the counsel of God is. In my dealing with men, when they hear the word love, they think in sex. And I would like Doc go back through those definitions that you give when you spoke about protection, coming from the meaning of love, to let men understand that this love that we are talking about is not the sex.
Yes,
It has a completely different meaning.
yeah, yes, indeed. You know, lots of times when men hear about love, they just think about a relationship with a woman. But the issue of love, it's broader than just a relationship with a woman. It's a relationship with people, relationship with yourself, relationship with people, relationship with children, with community members. So Paul is saying, the Apostle Paul says, it is patient. So we're defining love. He said it is patient, and he said it is kind. Love is patient, it is kind. He said it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others. He's saying love has nothing to do with dishonoring other people. It is not self-seeking, he says. He said it is not easily angered. You know, so love brings some kind of stability to people. So he says it keeps no record of wrongs. You know, people have a relationship, but then they're reminded, even though in this relationship you remember when you do A, B, C, and so on. So he says it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It is not vengeful, you know. I'm coming back for my revenge. It always protects. So Paul is saying love has a protective element. When you talk about love, you protect, you don't expose, you don't abuse, you don't destroy. It always trusts. And love demonstrate in love is the tremendous point of hope. You know, people might, to you, it might be hopeless, But love still says that, many of us, let us look at our own lives. We were hopeless too, until we met Christ. And then we recognized that we have hope. But we were a hopeless bunch of people too. So we cannot treat people as though they are hopeless. And love always perseveres. Love doesn't give up easily. So when we talk about love, as you said, Bishop, it's not just a man and a woman cohabiting sexually or whatever. It is broad and it is all encompassing as a human being.
Now, what can an 80-month-year-old child do to deserve the kind of brutality we have seen recently? And it is not just singular in nature. It is something that is seemingly growing in our society. Where, I'm asking these rhetorical questions, where are we going as a people if we continue to allow this to happen? What is the mental state of us? What is the mental state of our men? What do we do when we get angry? What are we using as our pastime? Is drugs our pastime now? Are we seeking to get high when we get angry so we become uncontrollable and lose our sense of judgment? Are we using mind-altering substances that we know we lose our form of analysis and our sense of care and love? Is that the kind of society we are trying to build? And I can hear the shout, no, that is not what we want. Then if that is not what we want, we have to correct it. And I'm praying, and this program is attempting to let us slow down and examine ourselves and recognize that this cannot be accepted as normal behavior. And as men, especially when we get angry, watch what we do. Go for
Circle
conclusion.
that you have drawn. I have been the beneficiary of both discipline and what can be considered in modern context barbaric acts. But not because of that, it means that one has to reciprocate what happened in one's childhood. So the question is, who draw the line and where the line has to be drawn? Is it a societal responsibility to teach and train men or males how to be men, or is it a familial or within the family that is responsible for doing that? In my case, it's the family. I chose to not to reciprocate, but the society grows and develops. I have learned how to resolve conflict and how to raise children. And so I want to side on the side of the responsibility within the home to teach and train. All that Dr. Hudson listed there, okay, it's a family responsibility. It starts in the family. But I think sometimes we put an overburden on society, the responsibility to teach and to train. And so I'm appealing here to men, whether you have benefited or not from what are considered barbaric acts, draw the line, let it stop with you. There are ways that conflict, there are ways that with problems can be resolved, especially when you're dealing, well, I don't want to limit it to children alone, but there are ways that we can do much better than we do. The problem is pervasive, but we can take a stand and dare to be different.
As you become a man, you gravitate towards enjoying power, enjoying force, enjoying being, that bad man that kind of person. And what we need to reconsider within our society is there needs to be a mindset shift in the men that we have. You know, there's a word called meek. There's a word in the Bible, meek. And if you look at when that word is used and you go back to the root of the word meek, it comes from a word pros, and that word speaks to power under control. As men, it's not just about being powerful or having the ability to destroy or having the ability to execute and do a bunch of different powerful, forceful things. Being a man is about having control and understanding how to care and how to be graceful and how to bring order and peace to your home, to your society, to your community, and to your family. So let's make that mindset shift.
When you join a family and you join someone, well, when two family comes together, and as we normally term it as stepchildren or foster children, however you want to categorize it, you should understand you have a responsibility to uplift that family and bring love. And one of my concluding thoughts would be, a child, according to the word of God, is like an arrow. A child is a force to be reckoned with, is an asset. It's not someone or something to be abused. So we must appreciate the value, the inherent value in children, tap into that and use that for the benefit of our society.
We are trying to get into the thinking of some of our menfolk. I grew up opposite a race course, a thoroughbred horse stands regally in all of his power. And we just saw the definition of meekness, power under control. I challenge men, wherever you are, control yourself. It's the highest form of government. Do not abuse yourself and those that you have responsibility for. We hope that when we meet next week, we will consider some more uplifting values. It's choice. God bless you.
We thank you for joining us on Choices today. Remember, you can join us at First Assembly, LNP Durban Street, Workmanville, Georgetown, Guyana, for any of our special services. I'm Silesia on behalf of the set, reminding you that your whole life is the sum of your choices. God bless you.